Dear Cosmo babies, on this week's episode, we are talking about cosmetology schools and you all, our students, our wonderful listeners, our Cosmo babies in the industry. And we have a very special guest joining us this week, a cosmetology school instructor, Michael Pendell. I'm your host, Annie MacArthur. I am joined by my co-hosts with me this week, Russell Mays, and let's just jump right on into it. Welcome, Michael. Thank you so much.
Michael's going to give us all the dirt. We want all the horror stories.
I am so here for it. I am actually so excited. I feel like I'm excited about every episode that we do, but I'm very excited about this one because I love our cosmetology school instructors. I think that it is a market that is underrepresented, and I am so excited to get to chat and really hear the tea about what is happening in cosmetology schools today. So I want to give you a chance, Michael, to introduce yourself because you are so much more than a cosmetology school instructor. You wear many hats, and I want you to share all about that.
I do. Yeah, I do several different hats at the school out of necessity sometimes. I work in the salon one day a week. My new passion is wigs, and avant-garde is my new thing. I've been taking some avant-garde classes, which is great. So I do, I'm interested in a lot of things. I'm also a lifelong learner. So this year, especially, I've already got 3 trips planned for education, just doing some things for myself. This is the year of myself, taking care of myself. Because I need to grow too. I can get stagnant, and being in school every day is definitely, we should have our own reality show for sure, but you just never know what's going to happen or adventure is going to be around.
Well, I'd like to start by saying that being a cosmetology teacher is probably the most thankless job in the entire industry. You get the brunt of all the complaints that, beauty school is just like going to prison. I just got to serve my time and they're holding me back and I can get out and then I can fly. And I'm trying to give you a foundation to build upon. And then the state is kicking your tires because of you got to have so many people in and out. It is really a thankless job. So from me to you, thank you for suffering through this and continuing the industry. And so leading into that, what made you want to get into the beauty business?
My first career was a dance career. I went to New York City. I went to a very prestigious school. I made it in New York for about 8 years. And then that was my first experience in beauty school. And I was actually working as an assistant with kind of stylist at the time. We were working out of the loft of his PR marketing firm. And I got to do some really lot of fun things with him. He was a great hair cutter. He was only a hair cutter. He just had a vibrant personality. We got to do a lot of photo shoots and just different things I got to experience with him. And I started getting burnout on dancing. And I thought, this is something I could do. This is something that excites me. It's artistic. I loved watching him hear Edward Scissorhands. So when I first started, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was a very visual hair cutter. I just would mimic what he was doing, his movements. I didn't know the whys behind anything. Really didn't know what the hell I was doing, but very exciting. So I left New York in 2001, right before 9/11, came back to my hometown and went to beauty school. My mom's a hairdresser. So I went back. She went to Ohio. I took over her salon out of beauty school, wouldn't recommend that very much. It only lasted about three years. I was in my mid-20s at the time. But I had a mentor that I found in beauty school, and she really opened my eyes to. She took me to hair shows. She took me under her wing, and I was so grateful because I got to experience just so many cool things that I just feel lucky with mentors in my life. I had great people growing up in my other field, and then the hair field. I feel like I've just been really lucky having great people in my life to guide me. And so I've always wanted to be that for other people. I always like to be that person. I feel like to inspire people or give people the information that they need. I always want to make people better than, hopefully they're going to be better than me at some point. That's my goal.
Yeah, I think your story really re-solidifies the importance of having mentors throughout your career. Because if you had not had some mentors going up in the beginning, who knows how you would have floundered and not succeeded.
Right. And my career, I went down a rocky path for a long time. And when I got myself back together, that was the first thing I really missed doing hair. And I was like, I'd always done hair in some sort of way, but legitimizing and going back to school was a huge thing for me because I was like, I don't want to do this again, but I have to do this again if I want to do this. And it was actually a really humbling, it was a great experience because I really got to go through it with a different perspective. It was a much different from when I was 26 going to school as opposed to, God, I just turned 48. In my 40s, I had a really different perspective. And I was grateful for that because I really got to focus on those fundamental things and finally learning the whys behind why I'm doing this haircut. Just try graduation or whatever it is. So I really got to go back and learn stuff that I really hadn't got to do before.
When you said, "Oh, I'm 48," my first thought was, "Good Lord!" And then I had to remind myself, "Oh shit, I'm older."
I think just not too much older, right? But I'm pushing 50s. Like so, I've had some life experiences, which has helped me.
So you went to school a little bit when you were in New York doing the dancing, and then you came back home. You went the full gamut through school. Second time at 26. You were at 26 at that second time.
It was like 26. It was like in 2001. I came home. It was about 26 ish, I think. I went to New York when I was 17, so I didn't do the math in 93. But yeah, I went to it was a local beauty school. Looked like it was right out of the 1960s. The decor with orange and all the things. It was a very different experience than like a school I work in. I work in a large school. We have about 200 students. So it's very different. I think we had the worst kits. Like I had this terrible yellow Big Bird looking blow dryer. And I was like, this thing sucks,
Yeah.
We didn't have the great kids. But it was great. I passed my state boards. It was fine.
How many hours did you have to go when you went all the way through?
I had to do 2,000 the first time.
Ooh, ouch.
2,000. Yep.
The first time. The first time.
That's like prison.
I know New York. Yeah. In New York, I didn't make it. I think that was 1,000 hours. It was 2,000. And then the second time was 1,600. It's the longest 1,600 hours. I think especially when you've done 2,000. It was great though. I'm really glad I went and did that.
There has to be a difference of outlooks of when you first went when you were young and then going back as someone who would have been an older student in beauty school at 26. Because I know Annie, she went at 26 as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it took me between 19 and 26 just to finish my cosmetology schooling. It took me a little while.
For sure. And I see we have so many students. We have a lot of students right out of high school, but we also have a lot of students who come back as a second career. They've got their bachelor's degree. They've had a career before this. They've had some life experience. They've done other things. I find that those students are a bit more focused. They do a little bit better. I think just from all that previous experience, they know how to navigate that a little bit better.
There's less of a social distraction aspect when someone comes in older. I know when I was in school, the last school I went to, we had a student who was an older woman, and she was probably 45, 46, and her second career. She'd always wanted to go to school, and she never had an opportunity, and she went. And I had so much respect for her coming into this young environment with all these 19 and 20-year-old wild idiots running around unbridled, and here she is just focused doing her thing, trying to take it seriously, and I had a lot of respect for her. So it's never you're never too old to go back to beauty school. Never too old.
Absolutely. Never. And I make it a point till the first day I see somebody who's over 30 that's in school, and I immediately connect with them because I'm like, hey, I just try to make sure that they know that they're not alone, that they can do this, like that it's going to be different. Like everything's digital now. We're doing everything on iPads or doing. So there's going to be some challenges because our generation just didn't have that growing up. So I try to connect with them right away, like first day, like as soon as they walk in the door, just to let them know that, hey, I know what you're going through. If you need any help, please, I'm here for you.
How do I turn the iPad on?
It's true. It's taken me 4 years to figure out the technology part. I finally got it together, but it's fine.
I guess like my biggest question that I have is what are you seeing that's different today? Like from your experience going through school, what are you seeing like new challenges arise in students?
I think the attention span, there's those social media and being on your phone, like that's like a big portion of people's attention spans are very short. And some people they're either in school like for an 8-hour day or sometimes a 10-hour day. So it depends. So that's a lot of hours to be in school. So for those people, of course, you're going to get, there's going to be days that you're going to be bored out of your mind or not just want to do anything. I see people sometimes on there watching videos and stuff like that, which I'm all for. If you're doing that and being productive and doing something, like, I'm going to support you in that. I just think that some younger people, I think just the climate of the world today, we're post COVID. I went through school and during COVID when all the distance learning and all that stuff, we had to roll all that out.
Mm-hmm.
That was a challenge. And I still hear from those students today. They're like, we were just screwed. We were at school during COVID and we had to do all this stuff, but we just did the best we could. And it's brought on some great things, Zoom and all. We figured out how to do all this stuff. And I don't know if I'm going way off topic, but I think that people they've got a lot of stuff going on in their lives. Sometimes they don't really know what they want to do. They've got this skewed perspective about what this industry is. Some people.
Excuse me. Do you think the technology makes it easier or makes it more difficult?
I think that's a double-edged sword because I think in some ways it can be great, but in some ways everybody wants instant gratification. They want to know how to do everything they see on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. They want to be able to do all that stuff, but at the same time, they can't hold a pair of scissors or have the correct body position to, you know what I mean? So I try to tell them, especially on days we're going to be in the classroom, we're going to be going back to these foundational haircuts or whatever that is. I always bring it back to, from my dance background, we got to go back to that ballet bar every single day. We got to do our plies and our tendus and we're developing those basic skills in order to it's going to just build that foundation so you're going to become a better hairdresser. I know from experience because I made those mistakes. I learned backwards. So I think learning how to merge those two worlds together, like what's going on in today's like to trends and everything like that, and trying to merge those like foundations with what's going on in the world, what's relevant today, what's relevant to them, and how can I make this boring haircut and how can I connect that with what's going on and is relevant to you, is going to make you get it.
Right.
Or something.
Right.
I can definitely see how that comparison monster can arise really quickly with the technology and social media today, especially with students themselves, because I think that a lot of times people have this sense of I need to be perfect, or I need to be able to get this, or all of these people on the internet are doing so much better than me. And I think that comparison is such comparison's the thief of joy, right? That's the saying. And I think that it can take away a lot of times from the learning abilities of actually hands-on education, like cutting on your doll head. People are looking at these videos online wanting to try to mimic that, but there's so many steps that you have to take before you get there. And I noticed that with people that I mentor or the assistants that I work with, is that our main conversation is always slow down. You're exactly where you need to be. You are still learning. You are still trying to understand these fundamental things. Like, you are in a position where you are supposed to be messing up right now. Like, you are not going to get in trouble or whatever for not doing something correctly. Like, this is your opportunity to learn, to make those mistakes, to make the mistakes, to understand what you're doing wrong or right or whatever. And I think social media or technology in general makes that really difficult.
For sure. And why is it that here's what I noticed. Like, we get the clients with the worst need for a color correction, or they did a bad, the people that come in sometimes, I'm just they make me just want to run out the back door because so I'm we got to sometimes reel those people in too. And because as a young new stylist, you want to be able to please everybody. You want to be able to I can do this. They could think they could take on any challenge, but don't really understand the journey to get there. So it's my job sometimes to you get your expectation with your guest. First of all, sometimes they come in with unrealistic expectations. So then you got to figure out how to maybe we can only do this today. We only have, and we're in time constraints. We've got all these factors that come into it. And so sometimes they get disappointed, but you're I think in the end, it's you want to have a win rather than a super failure. I want to try to build people up and set them up for success by setting realistic goals with whether it be a guest or like just whatever that is. I want to have them leave school that day with a good feeling about this. They have accomplished something. My favorite thing is somebody who's getting their first client. They've been out on the floor for maybe a week or something like that, but they've just had working on doll work or whatever, and they get their first client. And it's my favorite thing to do is to walk them. I'll walk you up. I'll do this with you. Let's do this together. Let's go up and let's greet our guests. I'll do it all for them. And for them to get through even their first haircut on a human or anything like that, it's such a rewarding thing, just because when we're living in fear, we're scared, we're not able to function properly in a lot of different ways. Yeah. So if I can help them through those times of being just when they're in that mode and trying to help them through it and getting through that service, and they're like, oh my God, it's like they have just such the best feeling afterwards. And it's awesome.
We have spoke on this before about how in the beginning of anything that you have to give yourself the gift of being shitty at it. Mm-hmm. You can't expect perfection. So you have to go through all the drudgery and all the failures, the things that don't turn out as well as you want in order to get to highly skilled or masterful. And I think a lot of times when we see something on the internet I sound like I'm 80 years old now, right? on the TikToks,
the interweb,
on the interwebs, on that computer, when we see something on there, which used to be a magazine, you see a picture, like, I want to do that. And then, of course, you attempt it. It's lousy. It's terrible. It's not what you want. You have to not think I'm a failure. And you have to think, okay, that was step number 1 of a 1,000-step journey. So I think as a good mentor that you help them navigate those first few steps across the pond of success. Yeah. And they have to allow themselves that grace to not be perfect.
Yeah. I've let people, honestly, I've let people make those mistakes knowing how it's going to turn out already, because they're just like, I need sometimes for them to understand.
Yes.
You get a guest comes in, she's level 2 and she's got a lot of hair history, but she wants to be an IC level 10 today or whatever, it's like, that's, oh my God, 75% of the time. It's like, and so, sometimes I allow them to just make those mistakes sometimes, not terribly, but like you've got to experience those things. If you don't experience those things, you're never going to really learn them. You can be told a million times, but until you experience it for yourself, you're never going to really own that.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%. Failure is a good teacher, sometimes a better teacher than success.
Oh, I was just going to say, I was watching a show the other day and oh my gosh, I can't even remember what it was. But the whole topic of the show was that you had to pick something to fail at. Oh, it was an episode of Daria that I was watching. Aging myself. But the whole episode was about like, you have to pick something that you're going to fail at and go fail at it and see how it made you feel. And some people came back to class and they actually didn't fail. They succeeded. And he was like, okay, but you ended up failing the assignment. So technically you failed.
Yeah, you failed. Yeah.
And it was like such a great teaching moment for them to have to understand that it's okay to have those failures because you're going to learn something from it.
Yeah.
Now, when you see students coming in school and you see them through their whole progress of beginning as a little chick and then they fly away as an eagle, which students are successful and what's their characteristics? Can you put your finger on that?
It's because I've seen it in like a couple different ways. Like I did a barber core class. I was filling in for a couple of days and it was like their first day of hair cutting. And we did like a scissor cut. It was like a graduation. And I got to see them on like their first time ever cutting hair. And then watching people, when you get to see that from the very like first day, and then you see them 6 months later, and just to see the growth in people, a lot of our barbers will get into braiding. Okay, I have this braiding block. I've tried to learn how to cornrow for the last 20 plus years. And sometimes I'll make it a fun little workshop. Okay, we're going to braid today. And I get the students because we have some really good braiders, but I want to learn how to do it really good. So I utilize them as well. But they'll take in something like corn and they'll be doing these intricate designs and doing all this crazy stuff. And just watching somebody because they're practicing this thing every day and just watching them grow. It's so cool, such a cool process. But there's the people that are sitting around and not really doing anything. They're the ones that are not growing, but those are the people that kind of target to figure out how to help them. But it's great to see people thrive and grow. And sometimes it happens so fast. Sometimes it's like, when you wake up, I mean, you guys have probably had this, but like when you don't really get, something doesn't really make sense, but you'll just wake up in the middle in the morning, you're like, something will just click. Like it happens to me all the time in different areas, but just having those aha moments or something finally clicks in your head. Oh, okay, finally get this. So sometimes it happens slowly and sometimes it happens very quickly. When I was in school, next to this girl, she was doing like three balayages a day. That's all she did through her whole school. I think that's what she's still doing now. But she showed me her like very first like hand painting balayage, and then and right next to her most recent one. It was like the amount of growth and change was just so amazing. But that's what she was doing, practicing every day in school. That was what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
So the students that do are the ones that succeed.
The students that do, yeah. The ones that are like I think you got to be because once you're out of your class you start with in your core class, then you're out on the floor. It's very self-driven. So if you're not self-driven, you're going to be lost. We got a lot of students. So it's very easy to get lost out there and not really know where to focus, or can get dicey there. But the ones that are you're not having to like always be on like, what are we doing? How can I help? Let's game plan something. It's the ones that are really like that are just, they're off in the corner working on something. Those are the ones that are really going to progress.
So this should be a very important point. Let me learn how to talk here. This should be a very important point that any cosmetology student or anyone in the first 5 years of their career should really take to heart. It doesn't matter if you're any good at it. He said it doesn't matter that they were good at it naturally. All that matters is that they did. If you do you keep doing, you will succeed.
Yep.
This entire industry, sorry to get on my soapbox here, but the entire industry is an acquired skill.
Yeah.
And so many people think, oh, you're just born with a pair of scissors in your hand. Well, you don't see the hours that I spent practicing my craft. The weekends, the nights, the days, and how many times I went home crying because I screwed something up. But yet the next day I continued on. So that's what beauty school students need to know, is there's no natural gifts. Some learn faster than others, but there's no natural gifts or skill. Just do. So that's an excellent point, Michael. Thank you so much.
I have to back that up as well, because literally yesterday I had a conversation with one of my mentees, and we were talking because she's definitely been a little hard on herself lately, but she's felt a lot better. And I was like, what was that thing that kind of changed for you? What was that pivotal moment? And she was like, I had to realize that, and she had a conversation with someone else, that this career and this job is meant to be fun. And if you're not having a good time, your clients probably aren't having a good time either. And once she was able to switch that in her brain of, no, I need to show up and I need to have a really good time with my clients, it totally was such a game changer for her. And I said, what I want you to be focused on and what I want you to be like, because I think she was taking everything way too seriously. Like she was like being so serious about everything. And I was like, where I want you to be serious is with your education. I want you to take your education really seriously. And I want you to take your learning opportunities really seriously. And I want you to take your client building really seriously. But I want you to stand behind that chair and work with those clients and just have the best time, whether you make a mistake or not. Like people are there to help support you if you do end up in a mistake, but you're doing it. Like that's the whole point.
Yeah. I know early on for me, I maybe wasn't doing the best haircuts, but I could always connect with people and I could always make them like make a difference in their day. And that's where they would keep coming back. The other thing I think staying excited about the industry is like what we just talked about at the beginning, like finding a mentor, because there's a lot of fear and not knowing where they're going to go after beauty school. Where am I going to go? I'm like, you need to go. We are so connected now, which is the great thing about the interwebs on social media. We are connected in a way we've never been connected before, and everyone is accessible.
Yeah.
I always like to tell them, if you don't know where you want to go, you need to go visit as many salons and reach out to as many people and figure out like what that is for you, because you may think you want to go somewhere, but then until you've gone to go actually visit them or spend some time with them, it may not be the thing, what they're like, your perception of what they're putting out. So I just think you need to stay inspired, find a way to stay inspired and like to keep yourself motivated, because it's a lot to get to beauty school. Is beauty school. I don't care where you go, you're going to have the same problems and the same things wherever you're at. You're going to have to experience those same things. So I just I always just try to stay positive and just try to motivate people, and especially seek out the people who are having a rough time. I try to target those individuals and figure out what's happening with them.
Yeah.
You had mentioned something about how that in the beginning you weren't that great at doing hair, but you always bonded and interacted with the client well. Is there some way that we can teach that for someone who's naturally introverted and is much more of a, okay, I'm quiet over here just doing my haircut, trying to ignore the client, don't make eye contact. You know?
That does happen. And I had a little girl, she just graduated, and she's a tiny human. She's a little tiny. She looks up at you and she talks to you. And she was like the quietest person, and she was very soft spoken, and like her growth through with her guests, like with talking to me, talking to other, just in general, like she was like turned into this lion. She was just like, her personality, and she just grew so much it came out of her shell, really. And I think that just came with, you gotta like people to be in this business, period.
Yes.
And I love the difficult clients, but all those things, we get people in tears sometimes, and you gotta talk them through it, because going to happen. But I think the more practice, like I'll walk you through to get your first guest and take them back to the chair, and you really model that by modeling it and showing them how it's done, how to have a conversation with someone, how to have a consultation with someone. Like at first it's like you just have to model and show them how it's done. Like sometimes you just have to do it for them. And
so what's that framework look like for you? Because something like you, it comes naturally, but what would be a framework you could give somebody?
I think just modeling the process, because, they're doing their consultation with their guests initially, then they're coming and grabbing us, and we're going back and making sure everything's on point. So I just think, and then maybe having a side conversation, and we do a lot of role playing too with each other. We're a safe space. I letting them know that nobody's judging you here. We're all learning. I like to make them get up and talk in front of the whole school, because that now you know how I feel like on a Monday morning when I'm trying to be funny and I'm trying to they are not having it. They have not had their coffee yet. They're not. I just think it's get uncomfortable. We got to get uncomfortable to get comfortable. So I try to. It's just different. I think modeling the process and then just practicing and helping people with their blocks, like and I've got a lot of people to help. But that's one of my frustrations, is that I don't feel like sometimes we can't give everybody exactly what they need all the time.
Yeah.
You got a lot of variety of people, so there's a lot of variety of angles that you have to come in at.
Yeah.
Role playing, I think, is a good thing. But one thing you said that I want to reiterate is acknowledging where your blocks are. So if I can do the technical part, I can do the consultation part because I'm talking about something technical. It's hard for me to go into a more casual conversation. That may be a block for me. So asking, can you role play with me so I can have a normal conversation that's not about hair? Noticing your blocks and role playing that. I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah. One thing I noticed, even for me, when I started teaching, when you have to teach somebody a hair or walk them through a haircut, as you're talking or as you're doing this, it's it makes you really own that information, and you really have to, it's a skill you have to acquire. It's a skill to be able to have to not only execute and do nice sectioning and be clear about your communication. I'm always trying to learn and grow in that area, because it's something it's a challenge for me. So I think everybody should have to try to teach somebody, or I think it's hard. It's difficult.
No, teaching is the vital step into mastering anything. It forces me to get down to a level of detail that maybe I took for granted, and learning how to communicate and explain that to somebody else takes my knowledge to a whole nother level of depth.
Absolutely.
That's 100%.
Another question that I have is, when they are getting ready to graduate and they are starting to job search, what's the feedback you're getting from the students of their biggest hurdles that they're having during that point?
there's a couple of different things. Some people, like, they already have a salon that they know they're going to once they graduate.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got the people who, like, where do you think I should go? Where do you think I would fit in? I try to guide them. And I said, well, go find 5 salons you might be interested in. Go check them out. And this is why I think this is going to be cool this next year, doing these salon visits and taking little group tours and just giving them access to people and we have guest artists coming into the school. I'm really trying to get some great guest artists this year to come in and just so people can connect, because people sometimes they don't know what they want. They don't know. They need to find their tribe. They need to find the people who are going to support them in their journey and support their vision or be a part of something and maybe they don't know what that is. So my advice to them is just to go check out as many possible things as possible, because you just never know, you'll know when you find your people, but you've got to get out there and find your people
and visit. Yeah. So the school takes students to like field trips to different salons.
Yes. Yeah. We haven't been doing it this last year, but I'm definitely starting it in January. I'm starting to take like a group of 5 and I'll take them out to a salon. We'll spend a few hours there and just check out, be able to ask questions, see the salon in action in a real life scenario, be able to ask questions and do that kind of thing. So that's something I'm going to be doing this year. Then we also have a career fair where we bring salons in where they're able to ask a few questions. They set up a little booth. It's cute. And then we also have opportunities for guest artists to come in. We do that once a week. But it's been hard. It's been challenging sometimes finding people to come in and do that sometimes. So I mean,
get nervous.
I think we should have Big Daddy go be a guest artist sometime.
I'd be happy to.
We'd love to have. Yeah, we're lucky to get some. We've had some great people come in, but I just don't think I think understanding sometimes the history of this business and is this kind of lost in a way. I always give them like, okay, you need to follow these people on social media. If you're not following, I try to do that all the time to people. If I know something that they're interested in, I'm like, okay, you need to follow these people for sure. I try to give them those little things on the side. And
it's so easy to follow the wrong people.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
And if you don't know, you don't know. So having some suggestions is a great thing.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that makes such a big impact. Like having a mentor, cosmetology instructor, be able to actually help guide in the right direction, because it's something that all schools miss out on is the history portion. It's like you go to fashion school, you're definitely getting fashion history, but you go to hair school and I feel like it's not really something that gets covered a lot. So I think that's such a great thing to incorporate, is showing them the right people to follow and learn from.
Yes. So I try to expose them to things that maybe they're not going to get from anybody else in my school. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, you need to be following these people or check this out, because there's so many opportunities for just different careers and different venues with the cosmetology license. You can do so many different things, go down so many different avenues. There's so many different opportunities. And like I've been listening to the podcast. I've been loving all the stuff Annie's been doing, and I'm excited because I can share that with my students, and I'm just excited about this year actually.
When I had my salon, whenever they wanted to poke the bear, so to speak, one of the girls would find some hack. I know it's hard to believe that there's a hack hairdresser out there, but there are a couple. One of the girls would find someone on Instagram doing something, a little reel or a cut or something, and she'd bring it over and say, "Hey, Russell, what do you think about this? This looks pretty good." And I'd look at it and I'd feel like, no, that's not where it's at. That's not very good. They're like, no, really? And they would keep prodding me. What about this one? What about that? And they'd find something that would just get under my skin and just drive me insane and wind me up and just watch me rip this video a new ass. And I'm just like, oh, look at this. This is terrible. Look at this. You can't even freaking comb the hair. And I'm just ripping this video. And then, of course, they say, why you got to be a hater?
Yeah.
I'm trying not to be. You keep poking the bear. Stop poking the bear.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that show they used to have them do these challenges like a hairdressers, and they would have them cut hair with like garden
sheer genius.
Sheer genius.
Yeah.
Remember they had a guy the second beauty school I went to, I remember this guy coming in and he was like his thing was he would have scissors in both hands. I think they were like blades on his fingers, and he had this girl hanging upside down.
Oh my gosh.
It was wild. Like, let's cut hair with fire. I don't know.
Yes. I'm gonna use a machete, a samurai sword.
Yeah.
That's all I need is more gimmick to be successful. Oh Lord, help me. So what do you think the future of beauty schools is going to be? Because there's some places have these movements to get rid of beauty school, and some places are like, no, you're not going to do anything. A buddy of mine in a southern state, I want to say it was Alabama, maybe, he wanted to be a barber, so he went down to the city. He paid his $50 for his barber license, and all of a sudden, boom, he's a barber. Didn't have to do anything other than the sanitation and sterilization test and pay us $50 and he's a barber. I'm like, wow. Okay. Yeah. So what do you think the future of beauty schools is going to be?
I've heard some talk about this too. For now, we have some other things we just started doing as an externship to, like the last 10% of your school, you can go and do an apprenticeship salon and get your hours that way, which I think is great. I was thinking about this earlier too. Different states with different. New York City, you'd go to 1,000 hours of school, and then you're going to go apprentice under somebody in a larger city. In smaller towns, we're in a little bit of a different situation where, and it's changed in the last 20 years as well. But when you're living in a small town, you're either opening your own salon, maybe, and maybe you're the only salon in town. I don't know. Yeah. But you're either going to go, right now, it's either you're going to go booth rent, you're going to go work for somebody on commission. I personally am telling people, find somebody to get in their back pocket and you go apprentice under somebody. Yeah. But we are having more and more opportunities, different kinds of opportunities where you can go apprentice or different types of salons are happening. It's not only booth rent or commission or go work at the mall or whatever that is. There's a lot of different opportunities. And I think it's going to change and evolve. I think these big corporate schools have become a thing. I remember wanting to go to when I left New York, I was like, I'm going to go to that Aveda Institute in Minneapolis. But now we have a lot of branded schools popping up that have been around for years now. There's different ways of acquiring I don't know. I think there's going to be more options in the future.
I think if you were saying that there are going to be a lot of options, I think that maybe beauty school will become an option. Probably one of the major options. And the beauty schools that don't take it seriously will fall by the wayside, just like any business that doesn't take it seriously. Yeah. And then the branded schools like the Aveda Institute and so on, I think they'll continue to do well because I think going to beauty school really gives you a heads up. It really forces you to get serious about it, where you could flounder trying to do it on your own for years and then realize, I'm not really serious about this. But beauty school, it makes you get serious real quick. Yeah. So I like the idea of beauty school. I like the idea of a serious beauty school. Let me say that, because the first school I went to that lovingly kicked me out, I don't know that they were serious about beauty school.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like the network that you have from like being in a branded school, like you have this network, this built-in network, different opportunities and things like that are wonderful. And I love that about that. Even the one I went to, the small one I went to was a focus salon. So we were still associated with a brand, but not exclusively. But that's how I got involved with a brand, and you're able to have those connections. And I was able to go work backstage at hair shows and do different things. I think that's the thing that's missing though right now, that these kids they don't really know what's out there, which is why I'm excited to expose them to Annie and you guys, because there are a lot of opportunities out there to do really cool things and keep yourself excited and build your network and things like that.
Definitely. So. I find it so interesting with like on the topic of the future of cosmetology schools is I have this really love for the way that the Japanese cosmetology schools are, because they're so like it is an option in Japan to go to cosmetology school, where maybe in the US, it's not always looked at as an option, or it's looked at as a third or fourth option for career wise. But in Japan, it's a 2-year process of very intense schooling, where when I was in London recently, I was learning more about the way that cosmetology schools and apprenticeships work in London. And I never I don't know why, but for some reason, I always associated the way that they taught in Europe was only through assisting programs and training within salons, but they do have cosmetology schools. And it's so interesting that what I gathered from the information I got was that cosmetology school is an option, and a lot of people choose to go to cosmetology school to build that foundation before going into a salon. And a lot of times salons will still have you apprentice after that to get more training and foundational skills, or you can actually just go get a job at a salon without having to go to cosmetology school. You could just do the assistant training. And they said that a lot of naturally talented people that kind of just have that creative eye will go get the job and get the training and kind of have that on the job training for everything, where people that might need that little bit extra go to the cosmetology school route, get the training that way, then go into the salon system. And I think that's such a great way to divide that up. And I wish there was almost this way of taking like this Japanese idea of like very intense training and merging that with other options, because I think all ways are right, if that makes sense. And I think that there should be a way to be able to find and merge those options for people, because sometimes school is not an option for everyone, and it makes it really difficult to enter the industry if you can't do that.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the knock on beauty school is that the training regimes, where was that? Yeah. I've not been drinking, I promise you. The training regimes are antiquated. And I think for a serious beauty school, they're not. And that's an unfair knock on beauty school as a whole. But some of them, the beauty school I went to, come on, we're still doing pin curls and roller sets and wearing nurse shoes.
Yeah. Yes. No, for sure. And I've heard that too, the feedback, the styling finishing aren't on point, or they don't know how to do this, or they don't know how to do that. I was like, so my message to all the salon owners out there who are unsatisfied, please go to your local beauty school, go in and be a guest artist for one day, be a part of the solution, be a part of the solution. And I know a lot of people have their own sort of training things within their salon, but, and maybe you're making some money at that, but come into the school. The people that are going to take the information are going to, I think you guys have talked about giving away your information and holding stuff captive, but the people that are sharing their knowledge, I think it's so valuable, because the people that are not everybody's going to take it, but the few that's going to benefit you. Coming in and being a guest artist, or sharing some knowledge, or sharing what you think we're lacking, please. we're like understaffed. We need all the help we can get.
It should be a community that's helping train the next generation, not just all put on the beauty school shoulders.
Agreed.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. We can only do with the amount of people that we have, and we can get done the basics, and it's just a lot happening. We try to get feedback and try to focus on different things that salons are wanting. It's not always going to happen every day. So
you have a lot on your plate. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You got the state demanding certain things, and you got the salons demanding certain things, and ultimately you got to make sure that they pass that state board. Yeah. And if they don't know what lice look like, then that's going to be a problem.
For sure. Sure.
Absolutely.
One of my clients messaged me the other day and sent me a picture. And I found this in my daughter's hair, and I thought, oh, shit, that's lice. Girl, I said, you got to go get the shampoo. You got to get the little metal comb. And this little girl, she's got it down to her waist, and you're going to have to shampoo it and pick all that stuff out. And she's, oh, no. It took her like 3 or 4 hours to go through and to pick this hair out. And she's like, yeah, that was fun. Not really. Wash everything in the house now. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Be thankful if you've never had lice on a client.
That's right.
Be thankful.
Sometimes we do a lot of back to school events, cutting events.
Okay.
We've run into that a few times.
Or
we get 200 kids coming in.
Yeah.
Tick's easy. You just pull it out and bite its head off, and there you go. You're on.
Gross.
I am country. Come on. That's what we do in Kentucky.
All right, Michael, I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
My favorite question. I love to ask everybody. But what advice today, after knowing everything that you know now, what would you tell yourself on your very first day of beauty school? The first time.
The first time, yeah.
This too shall pass.
No, I think the first, I was just really scared. So I think just because they go through quite a process of getting into school. I think the people that are there pretty much. So what I would tell myself is just to I don't know, to follow this, to show, you got to show up. I would try to not be fearful. Like I've lived in fear so much of my life, and I know that's just like debilitating, and I'm not being able to be creative or learn or do anything when I'm living in fear. So I would ask myself a question. I'd be like, what would it be like if I wasn't living in fear? What would I be able to accomplish? What would I be able to do? And I just think to find somebody to get in their back pocket, to keep you motivated, get an accountability buddy, find a friend, because we don't have to do this alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
I think that's an excellent question that everyone should ask themselves.
Yeah.
So that's a very poignant, eye-opening question.
I would ask myself that question now. What am I capable of if fear wasn't holding me back? I think that's such a good thing.
Yeah. For my journey, I would do stuff, knowing everything I've been through now, I wish I could go back and do it all over again. Right now I feel like I'm too old. No, but I'm not really too old, but I'm just right now this year, I'm investing, I'm continuing to grow because I want to grow. I want to be able to share whatever I can with other people. And I want to keep growing because I think that's just super important.
And I think that's also so important for you as an instructor, showing your students that there are more things that you do yourself outside of school too.
Yes.
You're always.
I wasn't working in the salon for a while, and yes, I only do 1 day a week, and that's not my focus. I do the clients that I already have. I'll take a walk in or two, but I really just am there for like really once a week. But I felt like it was important. I really needed to be in the salon. I need to be the things that, I'm busy all the time. So, but I feel like you need to set that example. If you're going to be doing this, you need to be setting that example and doing things, paying for education. I've paying a hell of a lot of money this year already. I hadn't even started as day one for 2024, but it's investing in yourself, and the payback is just way more. The experiences are going to be so much more valuable.
Absolutely.
I might suggest for your education that you come with us to Japan, because that is going to blow your mind.
You want to take a hair adventure?
I bet.
Yeah, come on a hair adventure.
I would love to. Yeah. See if I'm not bankrupt by the end of the day. When is that happening?
End of March.
But we have a lot more. We're doing lots of hair adventures this year. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time and your insight as a cosmetology instructor, but as so much more also. And we thank you for all of our listeners. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to slide into our DMs at any time. Leave us a review, comment what you want to hear in the future. Check us out on all streaming platforms, wherever you stream your podcasts from. You can also watch us on YouTube. So if you are more of a visual person, go check us out, The Hair Nerds, on YouTube, and you'll find Dear Cosmo Babies there. We'll catch y'all next week.
Thank you, guys.